Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. This is a modding video for American Truck Simulator. This video, I'm going to create a series of videos, and this is based on feedback from my other videos. It seems like there's a lot of people who's wanting to build a truck mod basically from the ground up. And I didn't have any videos like that, and so I decided that I would make a new series of videos showing me creating a Lone Star International, a legacy model, basically from the ground up using the SES Lone Star as my template. Now in this first video, I decided I would do this video as if you had no experience with Blender or messing with files, the game files, or anything. So if you're familiar with Blender, if you're familiar with the game files, then stay tuned for my next video. But for this video, this is completely for beginners to modding. I'm going to show you what software you need and show you how to get your game files. I'm going to show you how to create your mod files, how to get your base and your def files, and everything you need to get a working model into Blender so that you can edit without any errors. So if you're new to Blender, let's get started. Alright, the first piece of software you need is American Truck Simulator, and I can't really help you with that. But all your material files and your model files, they're all going to come from American Truck Simulator. But the next biggest software you need is Blender. So to get Blender, basically the only thing you need is go to your search engine and just type in Blender. And you can type in Blender Foundation or just Blender. But you want to go to the website blender.org. Let me change my internet real quick. Alright, so you scroll down until you see blender.org and get the latest edition of Blender. In this case is Blender 2.93.2, and here you'll find the download button. Just click your download button. And then you should see Blender download to your computer over in this window. And then there's a few files that we need to get from SCS software, and in order to find those files, just type in SCS mod mod wiki WIKI, and you should see SCS modding wiki. Just click on that link, go here to where it says tools, and then you're going to need this game extractor, so go ahead and download that. And then you're going to need Blender tools, so select download there. Alright, and then as the latest release is version 2.2, and this is for Blender version 2.9. So this is Blender 2.9, so we need to get the latest Blender tools. Alright, then Blender tools is downloaded. So we'll start out with those three tools right now, those three downloads. Also, I'll put this in a zip file and in the description when I post this video, so you can download everything that I'm using from that zip file. The other program that you're going to need is WinRAR. Well, that's what I use. I use WinRAR, WINRAR, for all my zip files. So you just type in WinRAR and just I use WinRAR X64. That's what I use to zip all my files up for gameplay. It's what I use to unzip files. So, but any compression file or compression program will work for you. I just happen to use WinRAR. All right, so we got all our downloads. Now we need to create our file structure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create on my desktop a new folder, and I'm going to move it over here so I can find it. Or let's see. I must have auto arrange on. All right, so there we go. And then I'm going to rename this folder video tutorials. Okay, so in this folder I'm going to create 2 more folders. I'm going to name one folder mod files, and I'm going to name my other folder 1.41. And I name it 1.41 because all my game files is coming from American Truck Simulator version 1.41. So in order to find your game files, come down to this file folder here and go to File Explorer and find the link that says this PC. Then go to your hard drive. In my case is hard drive C. And once you open up your hard drive, go to Program Files x86, and then look for a folder called Steam, and then inside the Steam folder look for another folder called Steam Apps. Make sure you hit Steam Apps. Alright, and then in the Steam Apps folder look for a folder called Common, and then you're going to find American Truck Simulator folder. So this is where all your game files are located at, or at least the game files that you'll need in order to do your modding. So there's 3 files that we're going to be using: the base.ses, the def.ses, and the truck file, the DLC International Lone Star.ses. So inside this 1.41 folder, I am going to create a new folder and call it base. And inside that base, I'm going to copy the base game zip file, the archive file, place it inside my base. Then I'm going to create a new folder and call it def. And then I am going to copy the game def file over. And then under my mod files, let me rename that so it's a little easier to read. So inside my mod files, I'm going to create a new file and call it trucks. And then inside there, I'm going to create a new file to call it International Lone Star. And then inside this Lone Star, I'm going to just copy the Lone Star.ses file and paste it in. Alright, so those are 3 files that I need for my game folder, so I'll minimize that. Now if you try to open this, you're going to get an error, and that's because that archive file, that game archive, is locked, and so we need an extraction tool. And if you go, remember we downloaded the extraction tool, if you go to your downloads, you see we have the SCS extractor tool. We'll copy that, paste that inside our folder, and then we have to extract it. So we'll extract it inside the folder. And basically what I'll do, I'll just copy it and place it where my truck SCS file is, truck archive file. And then I'll just delete these other two because I don't need them anymore. Alright, so now you should have the SCX extractor.exe, and then you should have the DLC _ international lone star.scs file. Alright, so to extract the contents of that file, click it and drag it over the extraction tool until it says open, and just let go. And you should see a DOS box. It should pop up extracting all your files, and then you'll see you have a vehicle file, UI, sound, material, font, depth. These are all your truck files. So I need the same extractor tool, so I'll copy it, and I'll head over to my base, and I will paste it, and then I will extract my base files. Now one thing about is it's a very large file, and it will take some time for it to extract. Could take upwards 10 minutes. You'll think your computer is locked up, but it really isn't. It's a big file, and it takes a while, and the time is based pretty much on the speed of your computer. So if you're doing this on a laptop or something that doesn't have a lot of grunt to it, it may take a while. This one is pretty powerful, and it still takes about 5 minutes for it to extract that whole file. While that's doing, go ahead and we'll extract the def file. So I put the extractor tool with the def file, and then I will just drag it and open it. Now the def file doesn't take nearly as long. It usually is less than a minute. So I've already extracted my def file, and if you go in there, you can see that these are all the files that were located inside that def file. Now the def file, we don't really use it for modding that much, but where the def file comes in handy is when it's time to create a mod for the game, because there's certain files in here that we need for the game. And but for creating a truck, we don't really need the def file, but we do need the base file. And because I have my DOS window still open for my base, it's still extracting. Okay, so while that's still extracting, let's work on our mod files. Alright, so I go back into our mod files. I want to create a new folder, and I am going to call this folder base _files. Now this will be the actual files that we'll use to create our mod. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to open up a new folder so that I can copy, because you got to copy a lot of files. So I go back in mod files, and I go into trucks. One of the files that you need to copy is this vehicle file. Well, actually, let's back this up a second. In the base files, create 3 different folders, and this is how I like to do it. And to me, it keeps you from getting confused. but I create 3 folders: a vehicle, a material, and then copy this automat file. And I copied the automat file from my Lone Star Truck DLC to my base files. Alright, this is the working files, and these are my stock truck files. It's easy to get them confused, and if you get them confused, then something's not going to work right, so make sure you keep those separate. Alright, so my base has finally got done extracting, and you'll notice there's a vehicle file in my base, and inside that vehicle file there's some folders you got to copy to this vehicle file. The first one is the share, so we'll copy the share and we'll paste that in our mod files. And inside that share file, there's a lot of files, but we don't need them all. So open your share file, and we're going to delete some files here. Okay, inside the models, you want to delete everything but the cable connectors. And the reason why you do this, extra files a lot of times will cause you a lot of errors on your export. And so I just delete them because I don't need them for my truck mod. The reason I leave the cables connectors in here is in case I want to modify the cable connectors on my truck. I have the model for it. Okay, so now that share folder is done, go back out to your vehicle, and then you want to copy this wheel, and then you want to create a new folder called truck. So I'll create a new folder and call it truck. And then inside this truck folder, you're going to see another share file. Just copy this, and then create a new folder called upgrade. And then inside the upgrade, copy this WPASS folder. You don't really need this WPASS folder, and what it is the way station pass model, but if you don't have it in here, it will give you an error. So I just copy it over. It only takes a second, but you really don't need it for your mod unless you're going to modify the windshield pass monitor. So that is all the files that we need from our game files to our base file, or our vehicle file. Okay, so now we got to copy some files over to our material folder. So we'll open material in our base, and you'll see a folder called environment. Just copy that whole folder, the environment folder, into your mod files. Alright, and then this material database file, copy it over. Files in this environment. Okay, because this will also cause you errors on exporting. So what I do, I just eliminate all unnecessary folders. So in this case, Uh, brush reflection we need. The building reflection we do not need, so I'll delete that. We need the fuzzy reflection. We don't need the economaker cube, so I'll delete that. We need interior static. We need the relightable reflection. We don't need the showroom cube. We don't need the skyline reflection. We need a soft reflection, the super soft reflection, but we do not need the truck preview. I'll delete that. Alright, so in your environment folder, you should have brushed reflection, fuzzy reflection, interior static, relightable reflection, soft reflection, and super soft reflection. And that is it. Now, this is our base files, and we haven't copied the truck files over, so we'll do that now. So we need to go back to our truck file. And let's locate our mod files in our trucks, International Lone Star. And then what I normally do is just copy this whole vehicle and just hit paste. And then it'll copy all the files that I need into my vehicle folder. And there's one automat file we need. I forgot to copy it over, and this is from our, not our base file, but our 1.41 file. Our ATS game files. This base. There's another automat file. I'm going to copy that one. Alright, your automat file, you need it for all your materials. If you don't do that, all your materials will not convert over right. So you have to have the automat file. Take the automat file from your game base and the automat file from your truck. Alright, and just combine them into your mod files. I know it gets kind of confusing, and if you have issues, leave me some comments and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. But the files are a little bit complicated, especially if you've never done them before. Just keep your game files and your mod files separately. Alright, you can tell it's a fairly large file. Okay, and anytime you get files with the same name, because I copied the truck files first and the game files second, I'm going to skip these. But if you copy the game automat file first and then the truck second, you got to make sure that you replace it with the truck. Otherwise, you could have errors. Not all the time, but you could have some errors. All right, I think we are ready. All right, so there was one file that people can't find on the internet. It's called converter pics, and you will have to download this from the description, because I think the ones that people are finding online isn't working. I know the copy that I have works fine. So make sure you get a copy of the converter pics. And basically, let me see if I can explain this right. If you go into your mod files and you go into your vehicle folder, which is where all your model files are kept, your 3D models are kept in your vehicle folder. And let's say you go to truck and you want to modify the chassis. So you go into your chassis folders, and these are all your 3D model files. But if you'll notice, they're in PMC, PMD, and PMG files. And Blender doesn't recognize these file types, so they have to be converted. And also, if you look at your TOBJ files, these are these funny looking characters in the front. This is because it's in a hexadecimal format. You cannot edit anything in this line without ruining this TOBJ. So when we convert it, this will be converted into a text file so we can edit all we want. And then once we get done with the editing, we can, when we export it, it'll convert it back into a hexadecimal file. You know, we'll get more into that later, but we do need to convert this over to a text file. So in order to do that, there's a program called ConverterPix. So I go back to my base file, and then I have my ConverterPix tool located in this folder. And like I said, I will leave a link to this ConverterPix program in the description. So anyway, you go to bin, and then you choose your operating system. In my case, it's Windows, so it's win.x86. And here is my converterpix.exe. I take this base file and drag it over until it says open with ConverterPix. And then you'll get another DOS box that comes up, and it's converting all the files in my mod files. It's converting my model, my 3D model files, and it's converting all my TODJs, my object files. So, and then what it's going to do, it's going to leave the original set of files as original, and it's going to create a new file that's called basefiles.exp. And then the basefile.exp file. And the reason why I like to do that is because the base file exp, these are your original files. They haven't been edited. I haven't screwed them up. So if I do screw up something, and I screw it up so bad that I can't fix it, and I want to get the original files back, then I know I can go to this file and get it. If you didn't make a copy of this base file exp and you had to go get another unmolested 3D model, then you would have to do this all over again, all the conversion and everything. So that's why I just like to make a copy. And then I'll rename this copy. I'll rename it to just, I hate it when I do that. Basically, the rename and the delete is right beside each other, and I'm using a wireless mouse, so a lot of times when I want to rename something, I'll accidentally delete it. So anyway, I'll rename this to just simply base. Alright, if we're looking at base, you only have two files now. Your automat file is gone, and if you look in this material file, your database file is gone, and that happens every time you do the conversion. We don't need the automat file once it's converted all your materials over, but we do need that DB, that database file. So we'll have to go back into our. Well, you can get one or two ways. We left it in our regular base files. So if we go back here, here's the material DB file. We'll just copy it. And we'll put it in a base. And you have to have this in there. Don't forget to do that. And then we need another file. We have to take this from our game. So I'll go back to my video. Alright, so I go back to my game files, my 1.41 game files, and I go to base, and then you want to grab this folder. It's called unit. Just grab that folder, just copy that whole folder over. And then if your truck file has a unit folder, you want to copy it. So we'll go look at our mod files, our trucks, the International Lone Star, and it does not have a unit folder, so we don't have to worry about that. But that unit folder, that's where all your light information is stored at. For your headlights, your tail lights, all those kind of lights there, your flashers, blinkers, everything's stored in that unit. Alright, so now I think we've got everything set up. The base file, this will be our working mod file. So everything that we get will come straight from this base. And if you go on this base and you look at the vehicle, remember we had a PMD files. If we go back to chassis, you'll notice that everything's been converted. You got a pick, PM, and pit. Where if you look in your original truck files, you have a PMC, PMD, and PMG. And also, if we grab a TOBJ, you can tell it's been converted over to a text file. So if you ever have any problems with your conversion, check your TOBJ, make sure they're in text, make sure your models is in pit and PM. Alright, let's minimize that. So now that we got our mod files ready, we need to install Blender. So everything that gets downloaded goes into your download folder if you're on Windows system. And here is Blender 2.93, and I'm just going to double click on that and just follow the setup guidelines. And I'll install Blender on my computer. Next we need to install Blender tools from SCS. That helps. Blender tools, you really do need them in Blender to be able to modify the truck. That's how you do the import and exports. So when we open Blender, and it always starts out the same way. You'll have a cube in the center, but we have no SCS tools installed. If you did, you would have a tab up here in your menu bar that shows SCS tools, and it's not there. So to install SCS tools, you go back to your downloads where you downloaded the SCS tools from the mod wiki, and you just copy it. And in this case, I put it in my Blender tools, and so here it is. This is the SCS Blender tools zip file. Now, this is very important. Leave it in the zip file. Do not extract it. To install it into Blender, it has to be in the archive file. Alright, so when I go into Blender, over here to your right, you'll see something that's like two switches. Click on it and it will give you a menu, and then right down here you'll see something that's like a gear, and it'll say Preferences. Just click on the Preferences, and then in this menu bar, look for a tab that's called Add-ons. You want to click the Add-ons. Alright, now if you look at this top menu bar, you'll find a tab called Install. So click Install, and then you want to just navigate to where you put your Blender tools at. And so mine was on desktop, and then I had it under Blender tools, and then I can see the archive. This is the SCS Blender Tools add-on right here. So I just highlight it, and then just click Install Add-on. And then you can see down here that the add-on is being installed. Alright, when that goes away, if you'll just give it a couple of seconds, you should see the activation should come up, and there it comes. So now here's my import export SCS tools, and all you got to do is click the box to activate it. Alright, so now it's activated, and if you'll look up here, now I have my SCS tools up here in the tab, the upper menu. Alright, so we're almost ready to import our first 3D model. We need to go back to properties, so click your gear icon, and then select the two switches that say properties. And this is very important, and I'll show you what will happen if you don't do this next step. If you go to File and you hit Import, you're going to find the SCS game object .pim. So we're going to import a .pim. If I click on it and I go to where my base file was, and remember that's on the desktop, and it's on video tutorials, mod files, in our base, and then I go to vehicles, truck, International Lone Star, and then chassis. And these are my 9 chassis for the International Lone Star, and I just want to do this the 6x4 long chassis, so I'll select it and I'll hit SCS import. And notice that I have a lot of errors here when I imported it. If you see errors like this, it means you probably have not pointed Blender to the base folder of your mod. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just start over again. So I'm going to hit File, New, and then General. Don't save. And then we'll go back to our cube. So I'll delete the cube, and then over here on this menu, you have to point Blender to where your mod files are, all your material files and everything. So you'll see something that looks like a wrench and a screwdriver, and you click on it, and see this, it says SCS project base path, and then you've got all this in red. Okay, that means that Blender is not set up to find your mod files. So in order to set your SCS project base, click the folder out to the side, and then you want to go to where your base is, and in this case it's desktop, video tutorials, mod files, and then base. And then once you go into the base and you see the vehicle unit material, just hit select SCS project directory. Alright, and now your project base path is black, your hookup library is black, and your material database is black. So that means that you have Blender pointed to your mod files. So now as long as you take your 3D model out of that base, then everything should import into Blender without any errors. So I'll try this again. I go to desktop, video tutorials, mod files, and then the base where I pointed Blender to. Then I go into vehicle, truck, International Lone Star, chassis, and then let's see, we're just going to do the 6x4 long. So click that, and then we'll import it. Alright there, so now I don't have any errors. My chassis imported into Blender. And notice it doesn't look much like a chassis, and that's because when you import a model into Blender, it imports the collision blocks, it imports the shadows, all your accessory targets, everything. So this white field right here, this is a shadow, and these ugly brown blocks, these are your collision blocks. So if you want to look at your chassis, like the SCS tools, you click on it, and then you'll see visibility tools, and then you can display different parts of your 3D model. In this case, I want the model objects, so I'll click that, and now I can see all the model objects. This is what you would actually see in the game. And notice that everything looks just solid white. That's because there's no materials being displayed on any of the parts. Every part has a material assigned to it, and because I don't have the material showing, it just looks plain white. So if you want to view the materials, and that's really simple, you select Z or Z, and this brings up a pie chart, and then down at the bottom it says material preview. You can just click on it, and now it displays all your materials on your model. Your tail lights, all your paint, your chrome, here for your step deck, but all your materials are displayed. And there's your transmission. You can also go up here to this top here and display the materials there also. So if I want to go back to no materials being shown, I can click here, or I can click to make it invisible, the wireframe. This is all useful when you start modding. So this is the, and this is the wireframe without the faces shown, and everything is invisible. You can just see right through it. So anyway, we'll get more of that in the next lesson. As long as you got everything imported into Blender without any errors, and you can see the materials, you've done good. You've done good. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll try to get a video up every week. And if you had any issues, please let me know in the comments. And at the start of the next video, I'll try to answer them. All right. Until next week. See you.